being a lot left on the table or
I
off
don't
the
know.
table?
I don't think like Capcom doesn't really have a rep for unfinished games, but their fighting games lately are being an issue.
That's what I'm saying.
I think
Like,
Monster
but
Hunter should be fine.
The last few games that released have had that trend of like, well, there's a lot that's DLC that we're still working on. You're like,
I mean, Capcom does love its DLC. They were like the masters of on-disc bullshit DLC back in the day. I think they've got a bit better about it, but
right.
Yeah, it can't be any worse than how they used to be. It's like, yeah, there's 6 characters, they're already on the disc, we're going to charge you for them. It's like, fuck off. But we'll see. It is a bit concerning, I will admit.
Was that Resident Evil 6 that they were really bad on? There was one game
Oh,
they released.
God.
Yeah.
6 was terrible. What a horrible.
But they had to, yeah, they had some bad DLC practices on 6.
Yeah, I think it basically came out in the first week, right? I can't remember. I just remember some Resident game came out and I was like, this is ridiculous.
It was around like the 360 era that Capcom was mostly taking the piss in a big way with on-disc DLC.
Yeah.
But with that said, Resident Evil 7, they just threw DLC at you. They were like, there's more. This one's free. We got this thing too, and we're going to have more coming out. I think that's kind of neat. I like extra stuff that they aren't going to charge me an arm and a leg for.
It's not like, I don't have a problem with DLC. I just want it to be worth the money, and I don't want you to try and sell me something that I already know is on the disc. I don't want you to slice off content that's key to the story or whatever and try and sell it to me later. So yeah, it's we'll see. I'm a bit worried for Marvel vs. Capcom, especially since it doesn't have crossplay. I'm really worried. Like in a month, this game's gonna have difficulty finding players on PC. So still waiting for that goddamn Steam version of Killer Instinct. That's a fucking great fighting game. Talk about good practices for that. You know, that's basically free, and then you buy the characters you want, or buy the full edition for like $30, which I think is a nice deal. That's good. You know, it's got a good roster as well. But it's on Windows 10 store, and nobody plays it there. So, if we could have it on Steam, please. Yeah, I'd be really, really happy with that. All right, Dodger. You're looking slightly concerned there, worried that, you know, the door might be battered in any moment by a horde of Vikings or something. But
right?
it is possible. Now you tell me a little bit about what you've been playing this week. What's been going on?
I was asking Jesse, I couldn't remember whether or not I talked about that first tree game.
No, you mentioned it. I think it came up when the release was like last week or the week before.
Yeah, so that game wound up being mostly a walking simulator.
Not unexpected.
It was pretty, like, it was basically made by one dude, I think, who didn't know how to program or anything when he started it. It was just like a passion project. So with that in mind, I'm impressed. It's entirely like the whole time you play as this fox and you go through lots of different areas that represent like different, like one's a snowy area, one's an autumn area, one's like spring, right? And throughout the whole time that you're walking around as this fox, you're hearing a story at the same time that is a guy who wakes up from a dream that he has about his dad, and he's throughout the entire game he's talking with his significant other or wife or whatever. He's talking with her about the sort of tense relationship that he's had with his dad his whole life, and like talks about their relationship and some stories from when he was a kid and stuff. And so it like sort of progresses to become like why he would be dreaming about his dad in the first place and all this stuff. The game didn't take that long, but I do have to say I think that it was in terms of what you were doing in the game, it was a bit too repetitive for how long it went. You know, I thought that the story that the guy was telling and the sort of anecdotes that he was discussing with his wife, I thought that all of that was interesting. But the fact that as this fox, you were literally just like, here's a new area, and there's a couple little like shiny things that you can see in the distance. You walk to a shiny thing. You walk to a shiny thing. You walk to a shiny thing.
Yeah.
And now you're in a new area. You walk to a shiny thing. You walk to a shiny thing, right? Like that stuff.
That's the worst part of like walking simulators when they do that.
I spaced out super hard. If they weren't telling the story, I was just like, all right.
It's
all
at
right,
that point where
I'm
you're
walking,
like, why is this a game? Like, was a game the best medium you could have used to tell the story? Because it sounds like the answer is no.
Right. And again, this was like first game, dude on his own wanted to make this, and I think for like keeping that in mind, I thought that it was I liked it. I liked the whole idea of it. I think that there should have been more for you to do and I think that what you were doing as the fox should have felt like, in the end, it did feel connected to what was going on in the story, but it should have felt a little bit more metaphorical, or a bit more like they were directly connected in some way, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoyed it. I just thought that it was a little slow paced for how long it was.
Fair.
So I did finally play that because everybody was like, you gotta play this game, there's fucking foxes in it.
Yeah, because, you know, you're basically defined by a couple of things. Coffee, cats, and foxes. Other than that, you're not actually a real human, so...
I don't have anything else going on in my life. Like,
yeah,
at least everybody knows
boil it down
that.
to a couple of basic elements.
You don't need anything else.
So you can shove you in an easy box, and that'll be fine. What else have you been playing?
So I also played, I can't remember if we ever talked about a normal Lost Phone on this show.
Yeah, we mentioned it briefly.
Yeah, I played a normal Lost Phone a while back
one.
when that came out, and that was entirely a game about, like, you pick up a phone and you go through it, and using, like, context clues instead of text messages and emails and things, you try to unlock more and more things that are on the phone in order to find out information about the person who owned it.
Yeah.
So they made another one that's called Another Lost Phone, Laura's Story.
Yeah.
And it's not a sequel. I think that's important to say. It's not a sequel, it's just the same people who made the first one saying, okay, we've made one of these, like, traipsing through somebody's phone games before. We have an idea for a new one, but we're gonna tighten up how we do it. So it's a bit cleaner. It took me, I think, 2.5 hours, something like that. But I thought it was honestly really, really good. The dialogue was much more believable. Like, the text messages between people felt more natural. I think that was one of the things that was jarring in a normal Lost Phone, was there was so many conversations that felt really, they felt like exposition, right? It was like, how is your brother? Oh, you mean my brother who is a doctor? Yes, how is your doctor brother?
Right.
Did he finish his degree? Right, like those kind of conversations.
Not
where
like
you're
real
okay.
human conversations that actually would, you know?
Yeah. The story in Another Lost Phone. The story in Another Lost Phone, I think, it's pretty easy to see coming, but at the same time, it's told really, really well. And I think, like, the message of it and the way that they went about it, and the pacing of, like, figuring out different things and finding new stuff in the phone was done really well. So yeah, I loved it. I don't know if, Jesse, did you end up playing this one yet?
Not the new one, no. But I like the old one. I like the concept of the lost phone, and you find it, and there's something interesting going on it. It's the reason I so very, very much loved, I'm gonna look at the name before I screw this up, the Mr. Robot.
Yeah. I heard some really good stuff about that Mr. Robot phone game.
Mr. Robot Mystic Messenger?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much what it is.
Where you get to date all the robots, right? That's
no, Dodger, that's just your weird weeb thing. No.
It takes place,
I misunderstand.
I think season 1 and season 2, or maybe it takes place between whatever the case may be. It takes place in the world, and you find a phone that is used by one of the characters in the show, and so it's all about hacking and, like, questioning reality and shit. It's pretty cool, and I love that. Not only do you get the main story of the main character, because it operates off of, like, standard time, so whatever time zone you exist in, your daytime is that daytime.
That's
and
cool.
So yeah, you get messages from people during the day, and maybe at night you might not get some, or maybe overnight you get, like, a boop, a thing will pop up and it'll be like, there's all sorts of different chats going on. And it's kind of like, well, if the person's phone who you think this is this, then why is this person involved in these other chats that seem superfluous, but have, like, a very dark undertone to it, and you're like, what is this about? And there's, like, a group chat, and everyone's celebrating a birthday party, and they're like, how do we get this? But it's like, wait, why would this character be on there? Like, this doesn't make sense. There's some cool levels to it, and then you can respond and play along, and there are many, many ways to play, and I love that one of them is literally like, what is this? Who is this? Why are you doing this? What's happening here? This is stupid. And everyone's like, what's the matter with you? It's great.
that was one of the things that, and I got pretty bored with Mystic Messenger pretty quickly, but that was one of the things that I thought was interesting about it, is that it operated on whatever your time was. Did you, with the Mr. Robot one, I probably asked you this before, but we talked about it so long ago. With the Mr. Robot one, did it, if you didn't check a text message in time, did it kind of punish you in a way? Like, if you checked it immediately, were you able to, like, respond, but if you checked it too late, you couldn't make the same responses, or you couldn't respond at all?
I do not, I mean, there was times I woke up and there'd be a message, like, waiting for me, and I'd be like, yeah, okay, I don't know, you know, this is sent overnight, and I respond, and I think it's less based off of, if there's any punishment, it's not like, you didn't respond right away, so you don't get certain choices.
You don't get the info. Yeah.
I think it's more like, if you take a while to get back, they'll take a while to get back to you. And so, and then there's also moments where, even if you are very much like, I'm into this, I'm playing, this is crazy, a person's trying to sneak into a place and I'm helping them, and then they're like, okay, I'll get back to you. And then you don't hear anything from them for like 3 days, you're like, what's happening right now? And so it does that to you too, it kind of busts you. And then the guy's like, hey, I'm at home right now. And you're like, what? Where are you? Where were you? But it's a game and not real, and you are a crazy person when you feel the same way.
I do think that kind of a thing, where it's like they're aware that you're involved and that you're there, and they give you like tasks and things to do. That makes a bit more sense than a normal Lost Phone and another Lost Phone, where at a certain point in the game you're like, why am I still fucking snooping in this person's phone? Like, why haven't I? And I think I'm trying to remember, in a normal Lost Phone, could you look at the person's contacts? Because in another Lost Phone you can't, and I think that they did that so that it wasn't like, why don't I just call somebody?
Yeah. Yeah, I always do the same. Even when I played the Mr. Robot game, I had that idea of just like, if I had found this phone and the first few messages I got were like as crazy as the first messages of this, I'd be like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna just leave this here.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the garbage and leave forever.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn this phone off is what I'm gonna do. Maybe back it a little bit and then throw it. Like, don't track my ass. Yeah.
Can break the SIM card and take out the battery. Fucking burn it.
Okay, haunted phone.
Terrifying thing. Cool. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's short, and I honestly think at the end, pretty much all of us were going, that was a really good, like, that was really well done. So, yeah.
Cool. Glad to hear it.
I really enjoyed that one.
Yes.
Dodger, did you finish Cat Quest?
I didn't finish it. No, I played it kind of casually on my phone. I never really like sat down and played it, you know.
For a game that on the surface looks like it shouldn't be nearly as fun as it is, turns out Cat Quest, I just beat it on a stream the other day. It's like incredibly charming, very fun, at least on the PC where you can like dodge roll and things are a little more fast. But there's also like a meta game. There's like a meta story to the whole thing where it's like, oh, yes, we're cats and we're in a land of like cat dragon bloods and like we're fighting monsters and shit. But also, this takes place after humanity has ended. Like, there's a meta story to it, which is like, ooh. And so there's kind of a little bit more going on. And it's
I love how many stories that are like, why is the world seeming to be totally normal populated with this type of creature? It's always like, oh, because humanity is fucking dunzo, because they all blew up and now we rule the earth.
And even though the story is like super silly and dumb, it's like, oh, well, it makes sense because humans made that happen, and now this is why this is the way it is. And then they're all dead.
And now cats rule the world because they have 9 lives. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Although there are many jokes that are like, oh, I'm on my 8th life, let me tell you, and you're like, oh, shut up, cat. But it's very fun, but I think definitely suffers from that. It probably was designed for mobile first. And so it's a lot.
Was it? I thought it was
Yes.
PC first.
No.
I don't know.
And I'm pretty sure it was mobile
for
first.
PC.
Almost certain, but I could be wrong. But, you know, you were mentioning when you played this game a couple of weeks ago, and bear in mind, no one expected this to be any good, because, like, Cat Quest, well, that sounds like shovelware bullshit.
It looks really basic.
Turns out it's not.
That's a terrible name.
Yeah, it is. It's a terrible name, and it doesn't inspire confidence. It actually ended up being good. But if I recall, you're playing on your phone, and, like, they just kind of taken out the dodge mechanic entirely, because you couldn't do it with the touchscreen. So they kind of put that in the PC version, as far as I can tell. So they had to alter it a bit for it to work properly. But a surprising amount of good response to this thing. You both played it. You both seem to like it. Everyone has played it. Seems like, oh, this is better than expected.
I now kind of want to play it too.
Yeah, give it a shot. It's available on mobile and on PC, and apparently it's all right.
Customization you can do to your character, because each bit of equipment you get changes things so drastically that you can make like a mage character or a warrior character or whatever. And you're just a little cat, but you can also change up your equipment to be a little bit of both, like a battle mage. You can there's a lot of secrets the devs have hidden in the game. So one of the things we found was a cave in the middle of nowhere that, if you completed it, it was a cave that had a bunch of traps and a bunch of like hidden things. But if you got to the very, 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 very end, there was a weapon that had no model. So literally just using your fist, and it's the strongest weapon in the game. And it was, I think it was called like Determination, or like something about the name was just like, yeah, don't you understand?
Right.
It's me who's the strong one. It was great. And I just went around beating guys up with my fist.
Cat fist, though, right? You're still a cat.
Yes,
You're
really
a cat.
fists,
You're always a cat.
If one were to ball up their paws, would those be fists or still paws?
Exactly, I got confused.
It's a good question, isn't it?
Someone in chat asked why I could walk on water in the game, if you're looking at the footage, because I unlocked the ability to walk on water. That's, I mean, later on you unlock the ability to fly, and flying literally is you flap your hands, and that's how the cat takes off and flies. You know, as cats do.
Good to see
I love that the way that you get health back is you just take a nap and the character literally just falls over. It's so funny.
That's good stuff.
Man, I'm sold on Cat Quest. I never thought I'd say that sentence.
You'd be surprised how many times that happens. Yeah, every time this damn game comes up on the show, whoever the guest is like, I should try this. I'm like, yeah. We're just like evangelizing Cat Quest for some reason. I don't know why.
And what's smart about the game is any items you get, rather than it be like, I got a hat of awesomeness, and oh, I got another hat of awesomeness, I guess I have to sell one. All it does is it levels up the current hat of awesomeness that you have by a few levels, so now it's even more powerful, and you're like, oh, it's everything I ever wanted. Yeah, so
it's a good way to avoid having junk in your inventory. It's a pretty smart idea. Yeah. Good
that
stuff.
Sounds great. I'm sold on a game called Cat Quest. My whole world's just changed. My whole persona is going to have to take a huge 90-degree.
This podcast, it has some strange effects on the people that come here. All right, folks, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll be talking more about the games that we've been playing. So there's plenty more on the docket. Don't worry. God, more than we could probably cover, but we'll give it a shot anyway. Our sponsor for today's show is Squarespace. Squarespace.com/cooptional for 10% of your first order and a free trial. Make your next move with Squarespace. Find out why with this wonderful and totally realistic ad. We'll be right back after the break with more games discussion here on the Co-Optional Podcast. We shall now press this button. There we go. Look, if the internet has taught us anything, it's that harebrained, ill-conceived, half-baked ideas are the key to success. This new bold age of technology has given us previously unimaginable ways to communicate even the stupidest of ideas across the entire planet in a matter of seconds. Got a new smart product that nobody needs? Crowdfund it. Bursting at the seams to deliver a hot take on the latest industry news? Blog it. Itching to start a global thermonuclear war? Tweet about it. Oh, God. There's one thing that hasn't changed, though, and that's the need to present your ideas to an audience, and do it in a stylish, impressive fashion. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure you think of very stylish and impressive. That anime t-shirt in particular. Talk about cutting katana edge of businesswear there, but you have to understand that some less enlightened individuals won't see it that way. That's why you should convince them with a beautiful website from Squarespace. Choose from a huge assortment of professionally designed templates suitable for any purpose. Blogs, galleries, storefronts, product pitches. Squarespace's awesome-looking designs will have you up and running in minutes, and a suite of specially designed plugins can help you quickly integrate the functionalities you need without all the complexity. You can try it yourself over at squarespace.com/cooptional and get 10% off your first order along with a free trial. We've seen some fairly ridiculous things as of late that probably shouldn't be happening. The smart Wi-Fi enabled salt shaking,
The Shark Dating Sim. Northern Lion's continued career. Dodger branded coffee beans. I mean, good lord, who would be foolish enough to buy YouTuber branded coffee? That has to be one of the most ridiculous, ill-conceived, terrible ideas in the history of... No matter how bad your idea, make it real with Squarespace. Make sure you get an awesome domain that everyone will remember, like .gripe. No, seriously, you can get a .gripe domain. No, I'm not kidding. That actually exists. Squarespace is even selling it with the convenience of Squarespace domains. A couple of clicks, no setup required, and your brand new .gripe domain name is ready to go for some reason. What a selling point! Everyone will take you seriously with that one. Create your own professional-looking website with no experience required at squarespace.com/cooptional. Grab 10% of your first order. Make your next move with Squarespace, because no idea is a bad idea when it's presented in the right way. Except that whole nuclear war thing. Maybe knock that off. I don't mind. Please.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Cooptional Podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed the sounds of Miracle of Sound with Duke. He used to be cool, which it did, and he was, and he's not anymore. So that's really kind of unfortunate, isn't it? Oh dear. Oh dear. Well, thankfully, there's a bunch of other games that are cool. I actually played one last night on stream, as it happens. It's called Ruiner. It's out today.
Oh, yeah. How was that?
It's a tricky game, but I think it's right up your alley, because, I mean, you beat Fury, right? If I recall correctly. Well, there are some comparisons, I think, to be made between Ruin and Fury. It's set in a dystopian cyberpunk setting. It's one of those sort of ultra-hard, top-downish sort of games. A lot of dodging, a lot of countering, a lot of evasion. But you happen to have an awful lot of firepower. You know, one thing I didn't really like about Fury... Well, I mean, some people liked, some people didn't. Is that Fury, you got your whole skill set right off the bat. You know, you had a sword, and you could reflect stuff, and, you know, that's pretty much right, you know, and you had that skill set, and that's what you had to work with. Well, Ruiner, you've got a lot of different loot items, you've got a lot of different skills you can use, and as a result, there's a lot of variety in the game, sort of right off the get-go. So, it's essentially a top-down twin stick with some melee elements and a lot of dodging around. And you're in this dystopian town. For some reason, you have a screen for a face. I don't know why, but you do.
Great. Some saga shit.
Yeah. Definitely something like that. They'll probably use that to put dank memes in front of everybody's face or something. I don't know if dank memes are a useful skill that could be used in this game, but it's possible. It's later down the tech tree. I haven't just quite seen it yet. And you have this little hub area full of interesting, weird, dystopian, cyberpunk-like characters, and you go on hunts and bounties and kill certain people and go through these dungeon-like levels. And the whole thing is very much a moment-to-moment, action-packed, make sure you dodge at the right time or you're dead, make sure you use your shield at the right time or you're dead. But very satisfying twin-stick shooter. And what I really like about it is there's a lot of weapon variety. They do the whole Hotline Miami thing, where your weapons have limited ammo or durability, so you're always picking up a lot of new stuff. What's neat is you can get better versions of those weapons that have more ammo. So it's like, oh, this is like a rare version of it, so it's got like an ammo count that's triple the size, so you get to hang on to it for longer. And I've seen a lot of weapon variety even within the first hour or so of the game. Melee weapons and ranged weapons. Big flamethrowers, big disc launcher that was really awesome, various kind of guns, a freeze ray, a laser that bounces off things, various types of shotguns. I do like a game that has a variety of shotguns in there, and this one seems to have that. And it's tricky. Definitely tricky. I fought a couple of bosses last night. One of them, the guy with the disc launcher, was definitely kicking my ass. There are some times in the game where I feel like the damage output of the thing is kind of crazy and you're likely to die in one hit. And they also like to hide these little shotgun traps just out of your field of view. So you walk into them and they shoot and then you die. And it's fucking bastards. You know, they're a bit mean about that. The one thing that kind of threw me off, which took a bit of getting used to, but I did get into it eventually, is a lot of twin sticks are very much top-down. You're sort of in the center of the screen. This... You're sort of at a weird off-axis angle, and it makes it feel like where you're aiming your shots isn't actually where you're aiming your shots, so it felt that the controls initially felt a bit weird. I've tried playing with mouse and keyboard, I wasn't into it. The controller was a lot better, certainly. And initially it felt a bit sluggish, but after about 20 minutes, I got the hang of it, and I was really getting into it. There's a lot of dashes that you can chain together. You can even, like, go into sort of bullet time and queue up multiple dashes to get to a certain location, do some kind of tactical stuff. And as a result, the action feels really awesome and slick and very Hotline Miami-esque, but just with a lot of weapons, cyberpunk setting, really awesome soundtrack, excellent aesthetic. It's good. From what I can tell, really, really good. I think it'll be up your alley, Dodger. You're into the harder games.
Great music can get you through really frustrating fights.
Oh, Fury is that game in a nutshell. Holy shit,
right?
It was so
Dude, the Fury
hard.
soundtrack is so good. I always felt like, all right, I have to do this fight again, but it's okay because the music is banging. Like, if that's the case with this game, then, yeah,
it is that, definitely. The weird sort of, Fury was very much just boss fights. This is a lot of dungeon crawling and little side quests and things, so very different in that respect.
I kind of loved that about Fury, though. I loved that it was just, here's what you got, here's a fight, and now here's a fight, and now here's a fight. It was very straightforward. It was very focused.
Yeah, they cut all the fat in that game. That game is just that, and fixated on that very small ability set and using it to perfection. This, you know, if you're into the loot and stuff like that, and I am, then there's a lot of that. And there's a lot of skill options as well. There's a ton of different skills. You can swap them out, and they all have a lot of multiple levels. You sort of, through this society, your worth as a person is defined by your karma, and you're rewarded by society for doing certain things, which includes murder, apparently, for some reason. And the higher your karma level, the more stuff you get access to, and all that kind of thing. It's, you know, I don't think there's a lot of originality in the game in terms of the game mechanics. You know, a lot of games play like this, but this plays well. It's slick. It'll certainly find a streaming audience, because I know there's that audience of people that really loves the ultra hard boss-oriented games, and this is definitely one of those.
I like the name. I like it. Ruiner and Fury is what all games should be called.
Indeed.
Like Cat Quest sounded great, but Ruiner and Fury win me over just from the. I play a game called Ruiner.
Yeah.
I feel like you'll enjoy Cat Quest more, though.
No. Cat Quest Fury, The Reckoning.
I'd play that. Hell
yeah. Some good stuff. Some good stuff. Yeah, so I enjoyed that a lot. That's out today. As it happens, quite a few good games coming out today. It's out on console and it's on PC. I got to play it a bit last night, and I was into it. Totally into it. Simon, you said you were at EGX, so I know you were working primarily with Squeenix. Did you get a chance to play anything else while you were there? They're exhibiting some pretty cool stuff, I heard.
Yeah, I deliberately went out my way to try that Mario Odyssey demo that everyone's been playing.
Yeah? What do you reckon?
Because it's just... I'm constantly, this is going to sound like an idiot, but I don't care. But I'm constantly fascinated and in awe of the way that Nintendo can make me feel like a child. Like, that is, there's no big surprise. It's not a big shock or a big, oh wow, what's this crazy opinion you have on Nintendo? But it just amazes me that when they actually do sit down and go, right guys, it's time to make a proper Mario game that will establish our console, and people will constantly look back to it. Because when, the names got so weird, when New Super Mario Brothers 3D, whatever the
3D for Wii U, I'm like, oh god, I'm confused, where am I?
Exactly. When that came out, it was fine. And it was like, yeah, this is a fun Mario game. But then when they did 3D World, which was their proper, this was meant to be a Mario game, I was like, oh, it's wonderful. And it's just, this one tops even that still, because A, it's just bizarre to play a Mario game that, I mean, I know they've always had big levels, but these levels are huge. And that's just not what we do. It just feels very strange for a Mario game to have these massive hub areas. But the way they just littered it with little things to make you smile and laugh and just have a lovely time. I mean, we should all be like pointing and laughing at Mario Odyssey, because the whole point is now his hat is alive. I mean, that's it.
Right.
That's the whole premise of the game, and yet you start using the hat and you're like, I'm so happy this hat's alive. Why hasn't this hat always been alive? I can jump on the hat and I can put the hat on other things. It's just, it's like being on some roller coaster that's made of marshmallows or something. It's just a wonderful one. There's nothing sort of super different there. If you played a Mario game before, you're not going to be taken. It's not going to surprise you in a sense. It's so well made. It looks so good. And my demo lasted about 20 minutes. And as soon as it was done, I was like, I'll even play that section again if you'll give me the time. Because it's just nice and effortless and fun. And you also know once you get into it, it's going to be, well, I hope so anyway. I hope it's going to be hard as nails. So still to this day, even with Nintendo's obsession with the casual market, you always get to a certain point in their proper Mario game where they go, right, now we're going to whoop your ass. Let's see if you can do this. And that balance is good. I just love it. It feels so good on the Switch because, again, the Switch is just fun.
Yeah, so I think we're all like Switch converts here. You know, if we were not convinced before it, we're definitely into it now. It's like, oh god, this is just really convenient and does everything we want to do.
So that was just, I mean, again, whatever you think it is in your head is what the game is. But it looks lovely, it plays well, it's awesome on the the handheld when you're in handheld mode and stuff. And yeah, I just walked away going, well, I'm buying that in October. It's like that's a simple purchase to make. So yeah, I deliberately went out my way to play that. I didn't play this at EGX, something I did want to bring up when you were talking about Ruiner just in a way. I did manage to get an hour with Wolfenstein 2.
Ooh yeah. A lot of us looking forward to that one.
Well, that's the thing, because you mentioned about how there's loads of guns and they're awesome to use.
Yes.
That is why Wolfenstein 2 is just so awesome. There are so many guns. And again, I know we all did this in the New Order, so it's not like a big surprise. But the fact they just go, you want a dual wield any of the guns? Yeah, that's cool. And you want like 42 guns? Yeah, fine. And it's wonderful because it reminds you, and I think for a while shooters completely forgot that the whole point is shooting a gun is meant to feel really good. But that just went out the window entirely. Wolfenstein 2 not only brings that back, but it's like, oh, we need to make up for like 10 years of nobody doing it. And I know they did that, like you say, a few years ago, but it is so good here. And there were so many sort of action-packed bits where you're just getting absolutely run over by enemy after enemy, but you've got like your shotgun in your left hand, you've got your machine gun in your right hand, you're just slamming triggers, till the cows come home. I'm awesome. I'm an awesome human being right now, as people just explode and blood goes everywhere. I mean, like I say, it's a sequel in every sense of the word, but it is great. I mean, it is really, really good fun. Like I say, and then at the end of the demo, you get on one of those Panzer Hounds or Huns, whatever it's called, and you just run around setting people on fire.
Yeah.
You're like, thanks, Bethesda. I'll go home now. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there because
absolutely.
I honestly can't think of a game actually right now on especially PS4, Xbox One. I look over here as I say this to make sure I'm correct. No, I think I'm right. That feels as good to shoot. Maybe Doom.
Doom, yeah, pretty much Doom.
What was I saying after E3? Best demo they had there.
Yeah.
Wolfenstein 2.
Wolfenstein. Yeah.
And PAX West is best demo there too. The Wolfenstein New Colossus demo is incredibly fun. And you played a different one. I played one where you're in a wheelchair. You have to roll around with a gun under your lap and you have to shoot guys. It's incredible.
There's a lot of cool variety in it. We saw the sequence with the LSD trip, like they could pull off some crazy stuff with that. Even the first game had a lot of it. It was so interesting. I love the fact the first game is a giant power fantasy, but it's still got a bunch of characters you can care about, and it's this cool globe-trotting adventure. That's another thing that's been missing from FPS for a while. It's like, I want to go all over the world, see really cool locations, and have all these different levels, and feel free to theme them in certain ways, but don't take away the fact that it's still a shooter. Like, COD did a lot of that. It's like, oh, you can do this cool thing, but it's like actually not really a cool thing, because you're on rails for the whole thing, and it's just you actually shooting things. Like, oh, we get to pilot a helicopter. No, you just get to be a door gunner and kind of hold the button down. So, it is quintessentially a shooter at its core, and it hasn't forgotten that.
Absolutely. That is why it's so much fun to play, because what do you do in a shooter? You shoot things.
Absolutely.
So it's like, if you're still like, I was an hour in and I was still finding different ways to, team up my guns and what they could do. And obviously, because it was a demo, they let you level the absolute crap out of them to begin with. They're well overpowered.
Mod the hell out of them, yeah.
Exactly. I didn't even do that much of the demo. There was like an outside bit, then there was a factory bit, then there was a cutscene with two people banging, because it's Wolfenstein.
It's Wolfenstein, sure.
You have to include. And then, like I say, you finished it just running around on a giant robot dog. But it was just, the whole point was every time you smashed the right trigger, you were like, oh man.
You just grin. You just fucking grin. I used to love using the dual automatic shotguns. Like, dual wielding automatic shotguns, I just lit the place up. It's like, oh, this feels so good. This is never going to get boring. That'll definitely be my, of the many games that are coming in November, that's the one that's like, I'm going to specifically put time aside to make sure I can play this whole thing, because the first one was that good. Is it November? I mean, probably. It's got to be, right? It's coming out this year.
November, yeah. It's the next 8 weeks.
Yeah, every kill in this game looks so satisfying.
It says October 27th on here.
Close enough to November, but yeah, I'll take that. That's a month away, yeah.
for a game that will be gone for. Table flip, whatever.
Well, you did insist on going to Australia for a month for some stupid
It is
reason.
Australia, though. I'll be fine. I feel like I'll be okay.
You'll be eaten by snakes. Just saying.
Gonna die. Might as well be by snake eating.
Indeed.
Might as well get punched to death by kangaroos.
Yep.
You know.
Murdered by drop bears.
Snakes. They're like, we're trying to help you.
Never see him coming. Never see him coming. It's you can go on the Switch, Jesse. You can play on the Switch. I mean, I don't know how good an experience it's going to be, but that game's going to be available on the Switch. Take your Switch with you.
Cool. I think it's cool that Bethesda putting Doom on there as well.
Yeah, yeah.
I think Doom is just what a video game that was.
Absolutely.
I love that game. I will buy that again for the Switch. The other thing I like about Wolfenstein as well, again, nothing different from the first one. It's so damn hard, but it's hard in a good way. Like you put it on those harder difficulty levels, and it really tests you. And I just, especially when it's got that whole sneaking mechanic as well. Now, I don't massively want to sneak in Wolfenstein. I do think it's really well implemented. I do think it never feels cheap. It feels like if you're smart and take your time, you can actually be a bit tactical with it as well. It's a damn good video game.
Yep, it is. Then you can play it in little bits of different ways there as well. Apparently they've fleshed out the stealth a little bit in the way that the commandos call in reinforcements and stuff like that. So you want to go all sneaky peeky like you can, or just go in there with the dual wield shotguns and eat people with them. Seems good too. All right. Someone else, what you got? Toss it in the ring. See how it fares. Somebody?
I played for a sponsored stream. I played a game called Auto Age Standoff.
Okay.
And it's a car battle game.
Okay.
And it was really felt like the way that it feels to drive these cars around is really, really tight. It's super responsive, and it's very like 80s cartoon in how it presents itself. The music is amazing. The music is so good. But yeah, you just like build up a loadout of a car, and you go in. There's deathmatch, there's team deathmatch, and there's capture the point. And you can have small cars, medium-sized cars, or big cars. And yeah, and you just fucking like kill all the other cars, just blow up all the other cars, and it's really, really fun and satisfying to play. It's super simple, but again, good music always helps. So just like running around in this car, blowing up other cars to great music.
I'm seeing that 80s vibe you're talking about there. It's very kind of Tron-like. A little bit of Far Cry Blood Dragon there with like the neon lines and the wireframe, everything going on.
Yeah, like the bad guy of the like story of the game is named Darkjaw.
Sure, yeah, that sounds about right.
That kind of stuff.
Why is it called Darkjaw? He has a very dark jaws. Oh, that's very intimidating, yeah. Good.
Yeah, and then the main girl, you know, will sometimes be like Dorkjaw, more like, you know, it's that kind of
I can see why this game appeals to you. It's just as unfunny as you are.
It's great. It's all dad jokes all day.
Pretty much. Okay.
Yeah, the like, in terms of building the cars, it's pretty simple. The sort of things that are available to you to like outfit the cars is limited, but you can feel the difference for sure depending on how you build your car. In terms of like how much speed you wind up getting if you choose different chassis and things like that. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. So again, keep in mind, I was paid to play it. But I was delighted. I was delighted when I started playing. I was like, this is actually really fun. So
cool. I'll hear that. Jesse, if we're gonna go on the sponsor shilling stuff, you played a Fortnite Battle Royale for a sponsored stream. We're going to be talking a little bit about that later when we talk about Bluehole's interesting statement regarding PUBG and Epic Games.
We're going to talk about Blueholes later.
Yes, indeed.
Anyway, Jesse, so
there's too many jokes, yeah.
experience
Since we're doing the shilling thing, yeah. Fortnite Battle Royale, which is out today and it's free, or is it tomorrow? Yeah. Something like that.
26th. Today, it's free. You don't need original Fortnite to play it, and it is a 100 people jump out of a flying magic school bus.
Yeah, that was interesting seeing that. It's like, it's a bus with a balloon. What's going on with that?
You know, whatever. And you jump out of a school bus and you fly down to an island, and then last one to live wins. And it is the exact same mechanics of Fortnite. So you have the many guns that you can find. And then of all those guns, there are the common, uncommon, rare, and legendary version of those guns.
Yeah.
And there is the building blocks you can use to make shelters and build up different defensive positions and things. And then you run around and you try to kill the other people, and then you can take all their items and then keep yourself alive and try to win. I am not like I've never been on this battle royale craze. Like last week when you guys were talking about it, I was like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't give a damn. After having played this though, I honestly truly understand why people care a lot about these and why they're so popular. I get it now. And before I was like, I don't care because I didn't play it. Now having played it, I
why
totally
do you
understand.
think it is that's really why this is like the latest craze, I guess, when it comes to game modes that people really want?
Well, I think it is less. I mean, even though it's a PvP game, it's a player versus player. It's 100 people, but it's less about them and more about you and your personal experience and your personal skill and learning from the mistakes you made and being like, all right, well, I goofed that time, but I can immediately leave this game because I'm dead and go find another, jump in and try a new strategy and try to find something else to work on. And maybe like this time I'll go to this part of the map, or this time I'll do this, or maybe I'm gonna jump out right at the beginning and kill as many people as I can. Like,
and you get like, you know, might get a completely different loadout this time. You find some different items right off the bat. Yeah,
and
that's what I got out of like my limited experience with PUBG as well. It's like, oh, every time I drop, it's a bit different. You know, I don't know what I'm gonna find next.
Yeah, and it's something that so when my very first time ever playing, I was like, well, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna do what I would normally do in a situation like this, which is like go off to the furthest part of the map and try to stay alive rather than try to kill people. And so by doing that, I got to like 11th place out of 100 and was like,
oh yeah,
what?
you can totally do that just by being a giant coward in those games. As long as you stand
like,
inside the blue
well,
circle and don't die.
If I start to really engage people. And so I started playing, and the first time I got slaughtered. I think it was like 48th or something, and I went in. But as I kept playing, and I only played admittedly for like 2 hours. But as I kept playing, by the time I got, I'm not gonna spoil the end of the video, but like by the time I kept going, I was like gunning down dudes. I like understood the strategies of like what to build and where, and how you can, even if you build stuff and use it as a lure, because people are like, oh, well, someone was here because they built the thing. Then you can like trap them in it and be like, what up, bitch, and like kill them. I
was going to ask about the building element. Like, it seems a bit out of place. I saw like
about that too.
I saw some person literally building a wall in the middle of a firefight, which seemed like a really like what the fuck kind of thing to have happen. It's like,
yeah, so there's a Minecrafty element to Fortnite, the original game, where you can destroy anything in the world, and then you can use those resources to build up defenses and traps. And in this, you can't build traps, you can find traps and place them.
Okay.
So if you do like loot chests or whatever, you can use them. And so in one of my games, I managed to get into the final circle, so it very much has that like battle royale thing where a circle closes you in, so you have to keep fighting each other. And I used it to the point where I figured out where the next circle would be, like set up a trap within the area people would have to run in to get to the circle. I killed like 2 people that way, and it felt so good to be like, oh, that was clever. Right? And so there's a element in the game where you can just destroy everything, and you can use all of those items to build wood, brick, and steel shelters for yourself, or places to place traps, or whatever the case may be. And so in this, they've limited what you can do, so it isn't like you're spending your whole time building, because there wouldn't be a game maybe last, I'm sure, as you know,
also,
like 15 minutes.
It wouldn't make any sense either. Like, this is the weird thing about it. It's like, it's a game where you constantly have to be on the move because of the blue circles, but then you're talking about building, which is an element of permanence. You don't want those two things, so they found like a happy middle ground there.
Well, yeah, because the building goes much faster, and there's only a limited number of things you can build. You can build a flat thing, you can build a wall, not a floor because I guess it counts as ceiling, but whatever the flat, either floor or ceiling you can build. You can, or a ledge if you wanted to, and then you can build walls, you can build a roof, and you can build stairs. And what they've done is they've made it so there are some items, for example, like you'll see or hear a glowing chest, and you're like, there's something awesome up in there, but it's on a cliff. There's no way you can get to it unless you're building stairs to like go up to the cliff. and then you can get the super weapon that's up there that will probably help you win the game. And so they've done stuff like that. But also, one of the areas is kind of like a swamp, and so there were a lot of derelict shacks. And what I would do is I would go around, and as the circle would close, I'd go from one shack to the next shack and just build up that and like hide out in there. Like, Van was coming for me. Come on in here. And I would do that. And then there was also times where I set up barricades to different things. Like, well, they're not going to come through this way. So when the circle closed, they're going to try to run this way, and they won't be able to get through unless they're hacking it down. And then maybe they'll get caught in the circle and die. So like, there's different strategy ways you can really screw with people just by building. And then of course, I died a few times to not looking up. Like, someone had built above me, and I'd run out of a building, and they'd just be like, pop. And I'm like, how did you? You built stairs up into the sky, and you're way high up.
Yeah, that sounds like a bit of a dick move. It seems interesting. Like, I like the idea of the building, especially with like squad play. The building again is counterintuitive because of the whole movement aspect of it. But if you know, probably towards the end of the game, if you've still got your squad alive and you know, okay, well, you can see clearly where this final battle's going to be. Let's build up a little fort and let's man it, and you know, let's try and fight from this position. That sounds interesting, but again, weirdly against what Battle Royale kind of is.
Well, I think that's the thought process that I had at the beginning, because I wasn't using it. I just had this stuff and was like, well, I've collected max number of wood. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with this. Yeah. But the more I played, the more I realized that a lot of it is strategy and strategy.
That's what you just invented a new genre, right? Perfect. Love it.
Yeah. A lot of it's strategy. No, so a lot of it is this aspect, because you see the timer that's like, you have 2 minutes to fight right now, and then okay, the circle's gonna close, you have 2 minutes before it starts, and then you have the circle's close and get to the next area 2 minutes. So it gives you all these little indicators of when you need to move or plan to move, and so you can then think, okay, well, I need to do this, this, and this, and oh, okay, well, I can do this, this, and this, and let me look at the map and see what's up ahead. And certainly it's more than just I'm running around killing people. It's how do I really win this? If I want to win, what's this insane plan that I need to have? My strategy. What's my strategy here going this way? And it's super, super interesting. And I was the more I played, the more I realized why people love these types of games. And so I definitely want to check out the other ones, because I was like, all right, I get it now. I understand.
Well, I think if you try PUBG, you'll be like, oh god, this is slow in comparison. And also, it's the most boring looking game in the universe. Like, Fortnite has color and some actual character. PUBG is like, how many store-bought Unreal assets can we get of like really boring looking blown out houses?
What do you mean? When you find those spiky trench coats, you feel dope.
Oh, God. Simon, what's your sort of experience with Battle Royale? Have you got on the PUBG bandwagon at all, or...?
No, I basically used it to wind up the fans of that video game.
That is easy enough to do in many situations, I find.
I have given it a couple of goes, but it's nowhere near enough to actually get. Do you know what I mean? I jumped in because you can't help it when everyone keeps talking about it.
You've got to try it if everyone's like, oh god, you know.
Exactly, and also I find that when I do use, when I notice a video game is getting a fan base and I decide I want to wind that fan base up, the best way to do it is to play it and take all the good. You know, we all just take those good bits that are obvious and then say they're all crap. And that's all you've got to do to wind people up. So I thought, well, I've got to give it a couple of goes to. You know, anything that makes me go, oh yeah, just write down like this, right there. So I understand, just like what you're saying there, like you really do have to give it a few goes before it all starts to make sense. So I haven't done that, but like I said, even hearing your explanation there makes me go, okay, that interests me. And actually, maybe this would be the most sacrilegious thing I say. I actually think Fortnite version with the building stuff sounds more interesting.
It does to me as well, right now. Anyway,
yeah, because I think then you've got a whole risk-reward thing going, right? Like, do I build the staircase, or while I'm building the staircase, is someone going to pop up and you know?
There it is. Yeah, you're building and you're wondering at the same time, like, I have a goal that I'm building towards, but like, I can easily be shot and then it's totally wasted.
Yeah, that sounds much more interesting than, like you say, I mean, look, I you know, PUBG, good for that game, it's doing awesome, but it does look like...
Looks like crap. Simple as that. It does. Let's call it what it is. It looks like bland, boring, out-of-date crap, and it doesn't run very well either. The nice thing about Fortnite is the guys who are making it are the guys that own the engine, so they're very, very good at using that engine and making it run well on lots of things. So that's nice. I think it's. I don't want to go too far into this discussion because we are going to touch on it in the news, but just to sort of stick on the Fortnite thing, I'm going to give that a try because I said after I played PUBG, I'm like, I see why people like this. I could get into this, but I think the game, it runs too long. There's too much walking around. And yes, while you can throw yourself into a high-risk area, there's no real huge benefit to doing that. And you can often just die in 2 minutes, and that's the end of the game for you. I'd like one's a bit quicker. There's a bit more focused, where there's a bit more action in a more confined space. So I think I'd probably enjoy that more. I'll give this a shot. And of course, this is the first Battle Royale game to be available on consoles. So that's going to be a fairly big deal for a lot of people. But I'll give it a try. I mean, it's free. You might as well, right? I think
honestly, just the explanation there has won me over massively in that sense. I think it sounds, and actually, this is a weird way for me to come at it, but the way you described it, that sounds harder to take the mick out of than PUBG, which I've done as a fake person I made up called the Miller Report many a times. For what you told me there, I don't know what I would even poke holes, because it actually sounds like it took a very popular idea and go, well, we just build it like this, it will be a better game. I mean, I doubt it have the popularity that PUBG has, but that's just one of those things where
probably not.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to dethrone the king. Not impossible though. You know, we saw that with King of the Kill in particular, you know, which did it before PUBG. It's still a very popular game. It's still in like the top 5 most of the time on Steam, even though people said, oh, it killed it. No, PUBG didn't kill it at all. Still a very popular game. But ultimately, to me, this whole thing's like a game mode that could be very easily implemented into other games. So you're going to see a lot more of this stuff pop up, and that's good, because that means you got more choice and variety. God, I'm dipping too much into this. I want to talk about this in the news. Anyway, it's my fault entirely. Let's bugger off of that. Want to talk a little bit about heat signature? Can I talk a little bit about that?
Sure. That game still does not look interesting to me. I know that you said that Dan really loves it, and
Dan
you're like, I
loves
can't
it.
wait to play this. I was looking at the screenshots, and I was like, God, this